So all in all, after the compass swings and various bits and pieces with the new radios and all that, it actually took 6 test flights to actually get our ticket to complete the air test schedule. So, application permit to fly. What the CAA stated was, as soon as the weight of paperwork equals the weight of the aircraft, you can fly. So obviously, after we finished the air test on the 3rd of July, we achieved the correct weight, and they said, yes, you can have your permit. Now, the 3rd of July was actually the press day at RAF Waddington, and we was due to arrive there at 2 o'clock. So Doug Webb turned up at Marshall's to check the paperwork at 9 o'clock. When he got to me at 2:30, I made him a cup of coffee because I thought I'd be very generous just in case he wouldn't. He went and had a look around the aircraft. So obviously there's a few things he wanted to check himself. So he finished that by 3:30. I gave him another cup of coffee. He signed the permit at 4:45. He presented it to me at 5:45 at the nose wheel of the aircraft. By 4 o'clock, all crew were on board. By 5 o'clock, they were airborne. And by 6 o'clock, they were at Waddington, which was 15 minutes up the road. I nearly got there before them in the car. So, don't know which way they went, whether they went to see their friends or not, I don't know. But it took them nearly an hour to get up to Waddington. When they got there, obviously the next thing we did is the display authorisation. We now have an aircraft that we can put to the public, but obviously before we can display it, the pilot must have his own display authorisation. 7 o'clock the night before, we had a phone call from the person who was going to do it saying, sorry, I can't be there tomorrow. I've got to go to a board of inquiry. So I thought, right, at least we'll get to Waddington and we'll be on static display. 10 o'clock that morning, we got another phone call from somebody else in the CAA. Do you want me to come up and do it? Yes, please. So he drove from Kent. Now, when we got to Waddington at 6 o'clock, they'd done 3 practice displays, landed, said, did he make it in time? He did. So, that was then granted on the, so at 3:30 we had nothing, and by 6 o'clock we had a serviceable aircraft with a crew that could display in front of the public. So, a couple of days later, we done our first actual display, which to me is 558 home, where she used to live at Waddington. And there she is, actually at the display, in front of 1 or 2 people. Yes, it's quite a good picture, that. A big giraffe, just taking the photographs. That was actually taken from the back of the Lancaster, which was actually put together when we got the permit 6 o'clock on the Thursday night. There was a little discussion on the Friday, and this happened then on the Saturday. There we are, went down to Farnborough. We was going down to Farnborough for the trade fair as a static, and then obviously displaying for the public at the weekend. When I was down there on the Tuesday, somebody would come up to us. A lot of the CEOs are actually here today. Could you fly for us, please, if we pay you the fuel? Yes. So this is one of the only times I've ever seen Farnborough stop. It emptied all of the exhibition halls, all of the corporate tents, all of the hospitalities, and they were 10 to 20 deep along the crowd line, and it went quiet. You could have heard a pin drop when we flew. That went down so well. All the deputies were here on Friday. Can we fly on Friday then, please? So yes, of course we did. So we had a real good week that week displaying. One of the things that we can do, we've actually come in partnership with the Blades, and if you're lucky enough, unfortunately now I used to push it, our first prize in our raffle is to sit in the front of one of them seats and fly in formation with the Vulcan. Unfortunately we cannot fly people on the Vulcan, but there are 40 seats a year for corporate events, fundraising or bits and pieces. In fact, there's one on eBay at auction at the minute, 40,000. But obviously you can't fly with us, but I think that's about as best as you're going to get. There's another picture of it there. That's my mate, Flight Lieutenant Guy Gibbon. When I first went back on the display team in '91, aircrew being what they were, you know, always bossing me about, so I thought I'd get a friendly one. And he's been in the aircraft since '91. He has his own logbook, and he's done every single flight since then, and even he has his own fan club. Okay, so basically we're looking on doing about 20 to 30 displays a year, getting to between 2 and 3 million people. So what I will do now is say, this is our first year now, so how do we actually do? Well, we'd actually planned just over 30 odd displays, which is a bit more than we thought because we're doubling up in a couple of days. All in all, we were planned for just over 30 displays. We actually achieved just over half. Now, you'd say, well, that's not very good for your first year, but for an aircraft that has been in bits, stripped apart, kicked apart, not done anything for 15 years, to actually achieve half our displays with taxi runs, I put a dozen fly-throughs. When we went from Bryce Norton up to Lucas, we took off from Bryce Norton, had to go via Lynham, Kendal, Cottesmore, Coningsby, Waddington, Scampton, Leeming, Linton, Carlisle, Prestwick. Apparently they were en route. Coming back via Sunderland, Newcastle, Linton. So obviously we even had to fly through Birmingham International Airport at one stage, because obviously we fly on visual flight rules only. Basically, if we can take off, read the road map and follow it, we can fly. If it's not, we can't fly. And so we rely a lot on air traffic who navigate us through, saying, let us know if there's any small aircraft, because we fly in airspace with all the puddle jumpers. So they say, oh, there's a glide, or there's unknown height, this, that and the other. And apparently the only safe route they could find was via straight down the middle of Birmingham International Airport. We actually, technical problems, we actually, so basically said we've done 50%, 30% was failed due to technical problems. And out of them, that 30%, 10% of that 30 was for technical assistance from Marshall Aerospace, where we could do the work, but because it needed a duplicate inspection from the engineering authority, we had to get marshals back in, and unfortunately, because they're not full-time with us, they were unable to release them, and we lost 10% of our air shows waiting for assistance, or he was lucky enough to actually get a holiday. And then we lost 20% to the true British summertime. So if I could have got the technicians help when I needed it, if we actually had a summer, we would have actually achieved about 80% of all our displays. And what the penalty we're under at the minute with the CAA is we have no minimum equipment list. We have to have 100% serviceable aircraft to fly. Because one of the problems I had in the electrical system was actually one of the alternators was failing, and they're 40 kVA alternators. The maximum load I can get on the aircraft after switching everything on is between 18 and 20 kVA, and I lost one of my 440s, and I have an APU, airborne power unit, which can do 32. But because we have no list, we could not fly, so we're hoping to build on that in the future. But there is the Vulcan effect. Wherever we go, crowd is up by at least 25%. And I see even at my talks. Oh, we only get about 10 people turn up normally. And so there is the Vulcan effect out there. One of the problems we actually had towards the end of the season was actually, this is one of the door jacks, and there was a fatigue crack, and it came away, and we missed 2 of the displays. I could have this repaired for the following day, but I had to wait a week for a technician on this one. So, but as you can see, a bit of the old stress fracture, a bit of corrosion that was in there on one of the brackets. These have all now been doubly checked and redone again, and we think we'll have this problem for a while.